today. I dusted off a training for you and I created it. It's called the 4 metrics for your high touch salon experience creation. So let me get started with that right out the gate. Let me do my share screen on this guy. Hold on. Okay. All right. Okay. So here are the 4 metrics that really need to be in place for those of you who are really feeling the call to change your business and do it in a congruent way, right? Because I think that you can get things fast, you can get things cheap, you can get things good, and you really can pick 2, right? And so you can get them good and fast. It's not going to be cheap. For example, you can get it cheap and fast, probably not going to be really good. You get the idea. But if you are really feeling called to do this in like a congruent way, meaning like it feels aligned, it's going to feel really good for you, which of course, if it feels good for you, then it's going to be sustainable, right? Because if it doesn't feel good for you and it's not going to be sustainable. And these are really the 4 metrics that I teach all of my students Becoming Light. I actually really speak from this whenever I do a blueprint session with a prospective student on the phone. And I really want to give it to you today. We also sent out a power offer earlier in the morning. So when you have a chance, check your email. It's in there. We would love to talk to you. But the first thing that would always come first is this idea that I talk about over and over and over again, which is healing your vessel in order to receive. And that's a humongous umbrella of what the heck does that mean? And what I mean by that, quite simply, is you can raise your prices all day long, but if there's a way that if it feels incongruent for you or you can't actually hold it energetically, as well as within like your new neural pathways, then you are going to hear crickets after a price increase. And that's why you have to do so much inner work when it does come to money, because everybody, even if you are already at $100,000, but you want to build more, there's always going to become this moment of an upper limit where maybe you start bumping up against the upper limits of what's possible for you. Sometimes our relationship with money does go back to our lineage. It's actually literally embedded in the DNA. So that means if you have a history of your parents or your grandparents or people in your family who, for example, think that you have to constantly work in order to make more money, then that's going to start actually being quite literally embedded in your body. And we need to do healing work around that to release that so that you can create a new energetic structure. So you can create new neural pathways around your relationship with money, for example. For some of you, it's going to be a relationship with being seen in your visibility. And perhaps we need to start to heal the perfectionism or the constant overwhelm that you're feeling. There's a lot of times that people will say, for example, marketing is really hard. And that's why they buy a lot of marketing programs or they buy a lot of done-for-you services. But sorry, I love coffee and I want to drink some while I'm teaching this. But for example, if you have this idea that marketing is really hard, that's actually coming from some sort of limiting belief that it's not safe for me to be seen. I can't trust myself. If you find yourself saying that I don't have time for marketing, it actually means you're taking too long to develop your marketing. And we actually need to unfuck some of that perfectionism out of you. And I give lots of prompts and challenges around that in Becoming Light. But a lot of times, this first foundation is so important because if you don't have this first foundation in place, your self-doubt or your imposter syndrome or whatever it is that's really like the big cheese in your head sometimes that's holding you back, it will start to take over. And we really want you to be built from the ground up. And it's been really amazing. As you know, if you've been here for a while and you're watching the video testimonials of hairdressers time and time again, no matter what lineage they come from, wherever they're at in their business, they all say the same thing, which was, this was so transformational. And the reason why it's so transformational is because we do so much deep work around this, because I want to build you into a whole new person who feels like no matter what happens, like, I got this, right? I want that to last way longer than your time with me. Cool. One of the student successes, because I love to speak from some of the cool people I've had the pleasure to work with, Toby, for example. Toby is a salon owner in Denver and has been in the game for decades. And when she came in here, she treated it like a delicious treat. And you'll hear that in her video testimonial. She said, I just wanted this to be like a candy, like a piece of just like yumminess for myself, because I've been hustling, double booking, overworking, running my business, hustle and grind, doing things the way that everybody was doing them for so long. I really wanted to learn how to take a step back and actually start to step into ease. And we have to take that, it doesn't always have to be scary, but maybe it's an exciting leap first, with the faith that we're going to be held. And for her, that manifested into basically rebooking some of her clients and saying like, hey, I got to be available now because I've stepped into this program, allowing herself to trust that it's going to be okay, allowing herself to show up to the calls and really show up to the healing and just be open to whatever was going to come up and out, and knowing that she was going to be held through the process. Consciously scheduling vacations and fun for herself, because that was so important, right? Allowing yourself to rest and receive goodness, allowing yourself to train your body to receive more positive energy, to allow it to be easeful, was really important, a part of her process. She started to work really, really hard in creating new neural pathways around safety and trust for herself. And she started to just treat herself like a queen. And that was amazing, because then later on down the line, when she raised her prices to $150 an hour and started to create a secondary business, she could totally hold it. She was able to just boss up and really feel congruent and aligned. And she had her clients go, most of her clients, I think almost all of her clients went totally like heaven yes to her new price increase, and that was completely a result of her own work that she did in this first pillar. The second thing that you would work on for a high touch experience creation and having one feel really, really luscious is a higher ticket pricing menu that's based on sessions, services, packages, right? And the truth is, most of us go into business and we are really afraid. If you are a commission stylist and you made the jump to a salon suite owner, you know what I'm talking about. If you're a salon suite owner and you made the jump to becoming a salon owner, you know what I'm talking about. And what we typically do, because of course we're animals, right? Like we are animals. So we start to see, what are the other animals doing in my town, in my community? What are they charging? And then I basically base my pricing $10, $15 on that in this compare game. And that actually doesn't work, because it's not based on you. Like, what can you hold, right? Because I do really invite all of my students to think of them as Chanel. And I use the metaphor these days a lot, because I started to get into handbags a lot more. I remember when I was younger and was totally obsessed with handbags and different colors. I choose a lot of my clothing, for example, based on color. And I loved color therapy. So I would buy a bunch of low ticket, Target bags or, wherever. And then over time, I got into the Marie Kondo method, and she talked a lot about objects as energy and how you can literally feel owned by your objects, and learning how to clear the energy around you, from clearing a lot of the physical clutter out of your life and being very intentional and almost systemic in the energy that you have in your home. And I began to think about that from the space of a handbag. And my friend Jess had me buy a Chanel bag. She didn't have me, but she told me to go onto the RealReal and buy this, I think it was a $1,500 Chanel bag. And I had never allowed myself to expand into the vibration of a $1,500 Chanel bag before. And it was communicated, the value of that bag was communicated through the price. And I paid more attention to that bag, and I paid more attention to the details. And I showed up differently in the purchase of that Chanel bag, and I treasure it and I value it, and I still have it. And I don't have the other Target handbags. And I really believe that your experience is first experienced with how your menu is set up, with the language that you're using to speak about your experience. It's not a service. You're no longer a haircut. You're an experience, right? You're Chanel. And that needs to be communicated through the pricing structure, the way that it's organized, the way that it's communicated. And that does change the game, because you literally don't have to do that over and over and over again. You just do it once, right? You'll revisit it, you'll tweak it over time, but it's there, right? And that's what it means to come into a brand identity. You start to think of yourself as an investment as opposed to a cost. And that is a shift, right? Because if you're like me and you have some sort of history of poverty, or maybe lower middle class, or maybe even just middle class, and you have some history of pressing your nose against the window of other people's lives and thinking that's not for you, that means that you're probably raised with some sort of mindset that everything is a cost, right? And for some reason, you could spend $40,000 to get new plumbing in your salon, but you would never spend $40,000 on yourself on coaching. And that's a different vibration, right? And when you start to do this with your pricing, you start to view yourself as an investment. You start to shift the way that you feel about yourself. You step into a space of yourself as a queen, as worthiness, right? And the truth is, I got to tell you, is that your clients don't need you, but we also don't need indoor plumbing, but we like it. And I invite you to start to really feel into that, right? Like, my clients don't need me, but they want me. And I want to speak to those people who already love me and they already want to pay me money. And I'm just going to go all in on that. Your pricing, what do you charge? I can't tell you how to do that. I do a lot of work with people on figuring out what their price is. But usually it's above your resentment number. The resentment number is like, I really feel like shit in my body receiving this price. So you got to go above your resentment number, but you also have to be at a space of something that you can hold. And that's different for every woman that I work with, because some of them can hold $100 and some of them are over $200, right? Like, one of the recent successes that I posted in here is Kelsey. I think she was averaging maybe, I think around like the $150 an hour range, give or take. And now she's still in the program and she's averaging at about $232. The value for her was really allowing herself to create a really beautiful experience for her clients and work less. And now she's doing that. And when I actually get to the data of that, the data is that if she stayed more or less consistent at this price point and at this experience, then it's bringing in an additional $111,000 gross annual revenue into the business just by shifting that and going into really embodying the Chanel experience that she wants to be. Cool. The third pillar for you is energy medicine, holistic healing, and proof of concept. And what I mean by that is a lot of spiritual hairdressers on the path don't go all in on this because they don't necessarily have the data. They might learn for sure a couple of metrics around energetic work and healing work, but it's largely based on intuition. And I love feminine intuition. It is what can really run the vision for our business. It can really run the way that we design workshops, or even some of the ways that we design our salon businesses or decorate our suites, or come up with really fun and exciting ideas. And we still need the masculine energy of systems and data so that we can come to that middle pillar of being balanced energetically, as well as within our business. And the same thing comes with energetic work. And it's really valuable to have a basis in science and theory, and knowing that at a deeper, more intellectual level. And this is really not so that you can come off as a know-it-all to your clients, or even come from the wound of I don't know enough, right? So then you're just like shouting out a bunch of energetic jargon in your marketing that people don't understand. It's totally going over their heads and they don't understand you, because that's not going to work either. But it's for you to understand it at a deeper level so that you can be congruent when you start to offer this work, because ultimately what a lot of certifications and a lot of education gives you is confidence. And when you start to have confidence, you can hold it energetically and it feels congruent for you. And one of the case studies that I want to quote is Laura. Laura came to me and she had a Reiki level 2 at the time. Reiki changes all across the board. For those of you who have a background in Reiki, I'm pretty sure that there are a couple of principles that are largely the same, but a lot of it has wildly varied. And that just happens, right? When something hits the market and it starts to become more widespread, it's kind of all over the place. And it doesn't necessarily have that background in energetic medicine and science and theory. Also having a data-driven way to to actually measure results on the clients, to actually have a proper standard operating procedure. Now, are you going to do that all the time on your clients? No, you're not. But it's really good for you to know for you when you're first building your experience, right? For you to have that. For you to have a certain amount of sessions under your belt, for you to have a certain amount of case studies under your belt, for you to already know from a very deep level what it means to have a proper energetic healing practice, because you might actually want that down the line. And that's going to help you to hold it above and beyond. You're going to actually be able to systemically see the results for your clients, which is going to allow you to then totally know you are creating something above and beyond value. Cool. Because I know that we do buy from feeling for sure, but I believe that ultimately what people do come to you over and over and over again are your results, and you want to feel congruent in those results and really know. And the data helps you because you can't see energy until you start to train your eyes to see energy on a regular basis. So the data is so, so helpful. Cool. All right, coffee time. All right, the fourth metric for your high touch experience is your vibrational marketing. And what I know time and again from my own experience and then other people that I've worked with is a lot of us have this wound around being seen, feeling overwhelmed, not knowing if we can trust ourselves, worrying that are we doing it wrong? And then we take a lot of time to do it. And what I did for a long time was I hid from it. Then I started to outsource it completely. And then I started to be inconsistent because I kept telling myself that it was really hard or it took too long, so that I would take self-care breaks. And time and again, it really is going to be consistency. And we have to learn how to have fun with it. I was going to say something else, but really at its core level, how can you have fun with this? Because if it's not fun, if you're not having fun in your business, then you're not going to be able to hold it. And the whole reason that we start our businesses is so we can have fun, because we want to do something that feels really good. And we also want to have another layer of purpose in our life, right? And your clients are people who already love you. So don't talk to the people who are saying, I would really love to buy from you, but I don't have time. Or I would really love to buy from you, but I don't have money, because those things are lies. People have time and people have money when they are a fuck yes, heaven yes on you. That's why right now today, I am only talking to those of you in this group who already love me and want to buy from me now. Not 6 months from now, not a year from now, not when an imaginary sparkle pony runs into your life and the perfect amount of time and money happens. That's not reality, right? Again, your clients it's not even necessarily an avatar, right? It's not a 35-year-old woman who shops at Whole Foods and loves Goop. Also, that Gwyneth Paltrow moment was really fucked up. Anyway, so your clients are those who already love you and they want to pay you money. That's it. And so I want you to speak to those people like they're in your living room and begin to have fun with that. And if you find that your marketing is taking you too much time and therefore you're avoiding it, it's because you're taking too long to do your marketing. It's because you don't think that you're valuable in some way, whether you don't think that your ideas are valuable or you don't think your face exactly in that moment is valuable. And that's not going to be an overnight job, but it is a really worthy job, because when you start to market from this place of my ideas are valuable, I'm a genius, I'm creating this like really fun company, and I only want to create from what feels sparkly inside of my body, and you start from that space, then your brand identity comes, right? And allowing your C plus material to just land and start to say done is better than perfection, and just keep creating and maintaining that consistency will then give birth to your brand voice and your brand identity. Yes, there are certain strategies that come into play and all of that stuff. But in the very beginning, if you're just getting started, and this is for you, if you are a commission hairstylist and you've been relying on the salon to give you clients, this is for you if you're a salon suite owner who is terrified because you're new and running a suite, or maybe you've relocated. This is also for you if you're a salon owner and you handed over all the responsibility for your brand identity onto a brand manager, and you've never done the work of what your own authentic brand is, because your voice matters. And if you are in a space of hiding, then the people who are watching or reading your marketing, there's a subconscious pattern interrupt that's happening between you and your clients. And it's something that's felt, and they might not even be able to articulate it, but it's like there's a blanket or a wall between you and your clients. And you really want to come from this space of just, I want to give to them, I want to serve them, I want to connect to them and what's coming up in my life today. And I just want to use that as my marketing material. And that is where the genius starts to come online, where it's doing. And then it's also creating new neural pathways. And we can do that through so many ways, right? You can do it through mantras and affirmations. And I'm going to give you a tool for you to use live with me or on the replay for you to start to tune into your own unique genius, because your business should not feel or sound or look like anybody else's business. You are 1 in 7 billion. You are here once. And we want that to really leave an imprint, right? Because if you came into this group, even for a fleeting moment, there's a part of your soul that said, yeah, I want this. Yeah, I want to do something different. But I'm also like scared. And that's okay. Like, it's okay to have the chills and the sensations and all of that stuff. But learning how to tune into your own inherent genius is super duper important. Because when you do that, your clients can really feel, right? Like people buy from people that they like, and they buy from people where they feel a connection to them. And I want you to start to get more specific in your marketing, because of course, if you're speaking to everybody, you're speaking to nobody. And sometimes specificity is really important. If you just say, even if you specify the number or the amount, or you give that information, it helps, right? It starts to stick. The brain likes dopamine and the brain likes specificity. So when you can specify things in your marketing, it's really helpful, right? Like even your brain, if you saw the invite for it, you were like, oh, 4 metrics for a high touch experience creation. And your mind liked the number 4. And it was like, oh, okay, cool. I know what I'm going to get. Okay, cool. Maybe I'm actually kind of more intrigued about what are those 4 things, right? It's just the way our brains work. Cool. A student success from this that I really love is Siobhan, and her video testimonials in here also. She had a long background in systemic marketing, just meaning that it was very strategy based, and it was like, plan all your content out, speak only to these things. This is your brand voice, only speak this way if it's congruent with your brand. And it was a lot of just like rules and regulations. And I think that's really helpful in the very beginning of your career when you literally don't know what the F you're doing. So you just really need the information. But after over 20 years in the business, you feel blocked, or the marketing feels like a chore, and it just feels like a thing you have to just hurry up and get done with. And if that starts to happen, you're not really calling in the brand voice that you want. You're not really feeling authentic. You're kind of hiding, and it doesn't feel good. And like, if it doesn't feel good, like, fuck that, right? So she needed to learn how to express herself and essentially allow that flow to happen and start to trust yourself and have fun. And it doesn't mean that all of a sudden you deviate into a personal blog and you're, crying all the time on your Instagram, or getting super deep, or doing shadow work 24/7 on your Instagram, but allowing yourself to share pieces of yourself is actually really important. And it's huge. And it was really cool to watch that, right? Because it was cool to watch her step into just a new level. And it's not to shit on the old marketing coach, because that was really valuable. But over time, you do outgrow your coaches, right? Like my hope is that my students outgrow me, right? I give them pure permission to have a safe space where they can disagree with me and eventually outgrow me, and maybe, I hope, eventually excel beyond what I've created. I really want that for all of them. And it was really cool to watch her go all in because her marketing felt more fun. She started to trust herself. She was like, okay, cool. Like, I don't necessarily need a coach 24/7 for permission or guidance to be myself. I'm going to start to learn how to trust myself. And she started to just create from joy, right? Like, ultimately, like, that's what I want for you guys, is to create from joy. Okay, so those are, to recap, right? Recap. So number one, healing your vessel in order to receive. Number two, your high ticket pricing menu. Number three, holistic healing and proof of concept. And number four, vibrational marketing. Cool. Again, I will leave the link in the comments section for those of you to book a 6-figure empathic blueprint session for the Becoming Light mentorship. You can apply for that, and we can customize everything to you and your specific business. For now, I'm going to stop share, and we're going to go into something I call trance timeline therapy. So this is a form of trance and hypnosis, and trance and hypnosis has a long history, and we don't really know why it works. We just know that it works. And for some reason, whenever you go into trance and hypnosis and you start to receive downloads or messages or guidance, it sticks. So, case in point, a lot of people have used trance and hypnosis to stop smoking or to change their eating habits. But you can use it for sure within your business. And you can also use it on yourself within your business, which is why I really love sharing some of this work with you guys, because a lot of times it's not necessarily that you need more information to do things, but you have some false belief or limiting patterns that are holding you back. So to get your results faster, you can use tools like this. So because I'm coaching a Facebook group and I'm not coaching you one-on-one with your specific sticky, icky stuff, I just want you to place the intention for a future moment where you're in joy. Why don't we do that? So sit in a chair. If you're driving, don't do this, but sit in a chair where you have your back supported, your feet are firmly on the ground, and you can just place your hands gently on the tops of your thighs up. And we're going to breathe together. Relax the back of your tongue. Close your eyes if you haven't already. And breathe in and exhale twice as long. Keep breathing in and exhaling twice as long. With your eyes closed. And as your eyes are closed, I want you to try to locate the still point. The still point is my favorite part of the exhale. It's when everything feels very still, very sweet. And as you're breathing in and exhaling twice as long, I want you to see if you can expand that still point. Now we're going to count down from 1 to 10. And each time I count a number, you're just going to relax even more. 1. A wave of relaxation rolls down through your body, top of the head to the tips of the toes. 2. A gentle wave of relaxation rolls all the way down through the body, rolling down like a wave. 3. Softening deeper. 4. Melting and relaxing even more. 5. A wave of relaxation rolls down through your body. 6. Softening even deeper. 7. Melting just a little bit more. 8. Melting, melting, melting. 9. Softening even deeper. 10. Relaxing even more. Imagine now expanding your mind upwards and outward. Imagine noticing a timeline that goes all the way back into your past and all the way into your future. Some of you are visual, so you can quite literally see a line that expands above and beyond, behind you and before you. Some of you are kinesthetic, so you can just feel into it. Some of you are clairaudient, which means that you can hear it. I want you to float above your body, and I want you to go forward into your timeline 6 months from now. You float up above it, and you gently land 6 months from now. And you land down and you touch into the space 6 months from now. You step into the you 6 months from now, this future moment where you're completely in joy. You feel the sense of freedom, or perhaps you feel a sense of lightness. Perhaps you see things like a movie screen, or maybe it's a still image. Take a moment and land into that space 6 months from now, into the you that is completely in joy in a way that is perfectly perfect for you in the time and the way that is perfect for you. And just imagine noticing 6 months from now, being where you want to be. Just feeling how good that feels. Now, float up above your timeline and go forward another 6 months. And you land into March of next year. Imagining 12 months from now, you've already achieved the goals that you've set down to intend. You're in this future space where you're completely in joy, feeling the freedom and the lightness. perhaps sensing the way that it feels in your body, or perhaps you see things in your visual. Maybe you see them in still images, or maybe it appears before you as a movie screen. Connecting to that feeling, being where you want to be, having already accomplished the goals, that state of joy, that feeling of flow. Maybe taking note of some of the specifics in that. And being in your being 12 months from now, having already achieved that goal, you can ask yourself in this state, what are some of the small steps I can take now to be where you are in this space? I'm going to take a sip of coffee and allow your unconscious mind to lead you to an answer. You can ask yourself, your unconscious mind, what is a small step I can take today to get towards that goal, to be in that state of joy? Once you have your answer, float up above your timeline, float back to the present time. You can come back to your present. And when you do, you'll find yourself ready because you'll find yourself wanting to stretch and open your eyes. For those of you who have been with me for a little while, you may have done this before, and then you may have already gotten some answers, and then you find that today the answers are different. And that's why you can continue to use this tool or these tools over and over again to create new neural pathways. This is really how you can create businesses of your dreams, and you can make decisions. You can even start to use this tool every day. You could literally just start to do that, especially if you're building, right? You're building something new, and it's really helpful to have counsel and help. But ultimately, nobody can run your business but you. And I love using this as I'm continuing to grow into different things, right? Because my business started in the very beginning as a dream, right? I got into this to heal myself because I was really burned out. And I started to go on that path, heal myself. And then it started to grow into getting education, and then starting getting healing clients, and then integrating it into my business, and then making more money. And then forming my own brick and mortar business, and then relocating, and then growing a coaching, you know what I mean? Like, it just keeps like building. And so I've had to use this tool over and over and over again when I've been building new things, because I haven't ever done it before, right? And in the very beginning, I was constantly giving my power over to everybody else. I would give it to my salon bosses, or I would give it to mentors or guides, and I would overhire coaches. And I love support, and I love consultants and agencies, and I use them still, I use them today. But I'm still the boss, and I've still got to go back to her and to that space over and over and over again. And that allows me to come to a yes or a no more quickly. I can trust myself. I'm like, yes, no. One of the things that I say to my students, because I do joke, it's like I tell you guys that like your business needs to be fun, and you do want to have a sense of play. And I tell them, like, fuck around and find out, and there's no failure, there's only feedback. And my caveat to that is,
fuck around and find out doesn't mean you constantly fucking pivot in your business because you don't trust yourself. That's why you need a tool like this, so that you don't constantly pivot because you're scared and you don't know what, or you feel like you don't know what you're doing. Like, this is the foundation. So I'm going to put the, this is your training for the day. I hope that you loved it. And I'm going to put in the comments the blueprint session link for those of you who watch this and you're feeling really inspired. Okay. Have a beautiful rest of the week. I will see you next week.